here. And today, all over the world in our organization, we are looking at and endeavoring to understand more fully that indeed God, the infinite being, life itself, can be very personal to each one of us when we are connected with its indwelling presence. That's the concept for today under the banner of Kinship With All. God can become very, very personal to us when we are connected to the indwellingness of it as us. And spiritual kinship is not at all like human kinship. Not at all is it like human kinship. Spiritual kinship happens when we understand ourselves to be one great soul, one great spirit. And in that understanding and in that awareness, we know we belong to each other. We know we're part of each other. We know we are the soulfulness of each other. And that's how we are connected. Now, as I was saying this morning, thankfully, it's not through our humanity that we have to feel that we are connected. Because as you know, we're always bashing into each other and annoying each other and upsetting each other and disconnecting from each other and all of that human drama and illusionary play that we engage in. So it's very difficult for us at a human level just to know that we are one with each other. The song says we are one in spirit. We are one in spirit. We are one by means of spirit. So soulfully, we certainly are all one. And that's the level at which you and I are engaging. And that's why we're in this room today together. Because we want to be living from our soul more completely and more fully, and not just from our ego. And as you know, most of the time we are engaged at the level of ego, our personalities, and so on and so forth. And that's very fine, unless our ego is totally off the wall and out of whatever, out on left field. And it can be like that. And when it is, world, look out. But what you and I are here to do is to open ourselves more receptively to understanding that we need to stop over-identifying with the humanity of ourselves and the physicality of ourselves, because the way we are connected in kinship is through substance, divine substance, which is more than energy. It's more than energy, but there are no words to describe it. But we're interconnected through the substance that each one of us is. And we're all in each other and belonging to each other because of our origins. Out of divine substance we came. We originated in divine substance, from divine substance, as divine substance. There's nothing else to make us from. And so whether this is easy to grasp or not, that's the truth of our being. I am the image, I am the likeness of divinity because I originated in divinity, out of divinity, as divinity. And so therefore, that's how I can say I am its image and I am its likeness. Now, on the human plane, when you and I are engaged in the game of life at the human level, we have a problem with being the image of each other unless I can see that you are the direct image of me. That's fine. When you are my direct image of me, that's terrific. That's great. That's a non-disturbance. But when I look at you and I find you're not my image and likeness, there's a problem. There's a problem. There's a disconnect. There's a separation. So we don't work at the level of the ego-driven life. We work at the level of the spirit, the soul-led life at this stage in our lives. That's why we're in this room when we could be, sitting at home in our pajamas with our cup of coffee, eating our pancakes and reading the Sunday paper or texting the Sunday paper or whatever it is we do. Whatever that is, and I love it. I think cyberspace is wonderful when it's worked intelligently and interacted with intelligently. But we could be doing that, or we could be out walking by the seashore or something like that. But we're not. We're here. Now, something strong had to cause us to give that up to be here. Something really strong had to bring us here together. Something really strong. And it wasn't your humanity, I can tell you that. It wasn't your ego saying, goody, let's get up let's go to church. That's the best way to spend our Sunday morning. No. It was a soulfulness within you that drew you here, and sometimes drags you here. It just depends on where we are in any given sense and sensibility with regard to biorhythms, and God knows whether Mercury's in retrograde, and who knows what it is that affects our human lives. But anyway, here we are, and the joy of it and the awesomeness of it is because every time we come, we have the opportunity to recognize our truth a little bit more. A little bit more. We recognize I'm more than this, I'm more than all of my circumstances, I'm more than all of my goings on, thanks be to God. I'm more than all of my faults and failings and successes and achievements and my stuff and my things. I'm more than all of that. Because one of these days I'm going to have to leave all of that and say tatty bye to it and go on to a new experience. I can assure you, and for some of us that's okay. That's easy enough, but for a lot of us it's very difficult. It's very difficult to leave it all behind. I mean, I remember listening to a writer being interviewed once, and she had a fantastic success with her first book. And she was asked, what she was thinking. And the first thing out of her mouth was, I'm thinking I should have done this many years ago when I was much younger. But to have accomplished this at 64 years of age doesn't leave me much time to, advance it and expand it and do all of that. And I'm thinking, oh, good Lord, woman, you need to come to a science of mind class or something, because life is eternal, it's ongoing, and it doesn't matter. Look at Grandma Moses, I mean, she wasn't moaning and groaning about the fact that she didn't do it when she was 16. She was delighted to have the success she had whenever she had it. And that's where we can be with all aspects of our life and living, when we know that God good can be personal to us, personally expressed and experienced by means of you and me, as a very visceral thing, as a very palpable thing, when we are consciously connected to that divine presence, to that amazing moreness that we are. And when we talk about moreness, all we're talking about is divine substance, is divine presence, is that largesse from which we came out of and we live in and we breathe in. Because each one of us is a breath of the one soul. Each one of us is a breath in the one soul, and every breath is essential to the soul being itself. And you and I are breathing it and living it and thinking into it and thinking from it and feeling into it and feeling from it and so on. It's a fantastic thing to be exposed to. It's a fantastic thing to know. But with it comes a huge responsibility. What do I do with this? Because I'm so habituated in being ego-driven and so habituated into the humanity of myself and the humanity of others, and that's the level at which I mostly engage in, and this is what the mind's going on. I mostly engage in that level. This is all I know, and basically it's an automatic thing by now, and it's very hard to pull myself back from all of that, and yet, that's why you're here, because you want to do exactly that. You want to pull yourself back from all the time being ego-led, ego-driven, ego-focused, and so on. Now, it's okay. It's a sovereign choice. It's not a wrong thing at all. It's a very okay thing. But in order to live a celebratory life, in order to live life at ease, at peace, at comfort, and in the realization that everything is okay and all is well, it'll take more than being ego-led or ego-driven to do that. It takes a soulfulness to saturate us, our thinking and our feeling and our doing, for us to be able to navigate the illusionary world of three-dimensional planet Earth. It does take much more to help us to navigate that with poise. And poise, as I see it, is true humility. Humility is poise. It's neither shook up or cast down or over-elated by anything that's going on outside of the self, the great self. It's always got this sense and sensibility of, that's interesting, what I'm witnessing. It's the witness. You can't be poised without becoming the witness and the observer, without detaching yourself from all of the amazing game of life and its drama, especially its high noon stuff. We've got to be able to step back from that and look and say, that's interesting, isn't that interesting? Yeah, okay, on with the next thing, whatever that is. I'm not bothered by it. One way or another, I'm not elated by it, I'm not depressed by it, it just is what it is, an illusionary play of drama taking place. And there's no volition to it, there's no value to it, there's no truth to it, because it is written through the understanding of the spiritual nature of quantum physics that anything you can observe and see is an illusion. That really boggles the mind when you think about it. Anything you can look at and see is an illusion. And it's been changed by you looking at it, actually, by the observer. And so all the things we take for dead serious is not anything other than an illusion. All right then. Where are we just now in the whole drama of life and living? Where are we? Are we all shook up? I'm all shook up. Are we all shook up by it? Shocked by it? Disturbed by it? Scared by it? In fear as a result of it? If we are, we're being ego-led or ego-driven. We are called today to stay centered in the awareness that no matter what, life, the universe is unfolding as it should. It's all simply isness, and everything has some reason to it, good, bad, or indifferent, and everything always works out anyway, sooner or later. So we look at, as we are called to do this week, look at the arena of the political arena as we look out there into the world. And the ego goes mad. Mad. The ego starts fighting with the television set. The ego wants to rant and rave and scream and shout and holler and go into right and wrong and good and bad and all the rest of it. The ego is judgment personified as you watch what's going on out there. Well, now, it might interest us all to realize that what we're looking at on the television screen, as far as the political field is concerned, is an amalgam of the majority of thinking and feeling in our country at the moment. So we're being reflected back onto ourselves with regard to that energy zone that's happening in this beautiful, amazing, awesome place called the United States of America. And instead of ranting and raving and cussing and swearing and shouting and bawling and doing all of that I've seen people do, what we're asked to do is to step away from it, see it as the human play, the human drama, the human game that it is, and give it no energy. Give it no energy. Do not increase its power by giving it energy, but know that always and forever, everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. But when you get your opportunity to make a decision around it, be open to the guidance of the soul and not the ego, and respond intelligently, because you know you can. And you desire only to respond intelligently and soulfully. And I think that if we can wrap ourselves around that, all is well. It always is. It always is. I mean, you see in a beautiful example, duality happening. Right and wrong, dark and light. Doesn't matter whichever side people are on. I can't tell you how many people I've heard saying, well, if such a thing happens, I'm going to Canada. Well, what about Hawaii? And what about making Hawaii here? You know? And it's a sense and a sensibility of what's going on in people at the moment. Be not afraid. Be not afraid. Do not get disturbed. Do not get churned up about it. There are enough people out there doing that. That's why you're seeing what you're seeing on the television. You and I have to breathe and breathe and breathe and breathe and breathe until we come to that composure and that poise that knows, it'll all work out. And I don't mean that in a blasé way. I mean knowing it will all work out because there's something greater and bigger afoot here than anything we're looking at or seeing displayed. So the calling this week is be mindful, be soulful. Let me ask us all the question. Let me ask us all the question. How much of the day do you ever think about the indwelling presence of spirit? How much of the day do you give to understanding? I have the indwellingness of spirit within me. Everything is possible. Therefore, I can make right decisions. I can think right thoughts. I can think right feelings. I can move through my day and at the end of it be very pleased with how it all turns out because of the indwelling spirit within me that I'm casting all of my burdens upon and releasing myself to the freedom and the grace of knowing God by means of me is thinking, feeling, moving, and doing and being. Yeah, I can do that. How often throughout the day am I aware that I am not this material body and that this world that I'm in at the moment is just a play of the gods. It's just a great big drama that I'm attending. It's just a awakening sleep or dream that I'm having, and it really isn't real. And I needn't be scared and frightened by it. It's just the play of the ego manifesting itself in human form in a way that sometimes is really good and not so good. But I am the indwellingness of life itself. I have available to me an infinite aspect to my being that I have no understanding of. But there's something in me, however, that knows it's there. Because anytime I feel connected, anytime I feel aligned, anytime I feel whole, anytime I feel good, and so on, I know it's not the small me of me that's causing that. Something greater than that that's causing that, and I must be connected to it in a way that I'm allowing it and saying yes to it. So you and I should be enthused and encouraged as a result of knowing that. I'm just not in fact, there is no me, there is no we, there is no them, there is no us, there is none of that. There's only the one. There's only the one life living itself. There's only the one breath breathing itself. There's only the one soul pulsating in itself. And I am just part of all of that. Think about this. There's nothing that I am missing or short of. There's nothing I have to get. People going around seeking enlightenment is saying, I am unenlightened. If I'm looking for enlightenment, then what's left to me is I'm unenlightened. Baloney, you're not unenlightened, and nobody is. Here's what's happening, though. The enlightenment, the fire, the power, the presence, is frozen in place within me. It's roaring, it's raging, it's grand, it's as full, it's complete, it's as whole as ever it will be. It is as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever will be. It's just frozen in place. And all I have to do is thaw it out for it to be released and realized by means of me, right here and right now. I'm not unenlightened, I'm just frozenly enlightened. It's a better way to look at it. And then I can begin the thaw. I can begin the thaw then. And what thaws me out? Passion, aliveness, appreciation, gratitude, praise, song, dance, laughter, Celebration. That's what thaws it out. Because when I'm in those experiences, there can be nothing that ails me. Have you noticed that? Think about dancing. Think about dancing. What is dancing? You're going nowhere when you're dancing. There's no destination in dancing. You're just moving around a room, you're dancing. What's it all about? It's about being in rhythm. Being in rhythm. That's what dancing's about, being in rhythm. And when you and I are in the rhythm of the soul, life is great and grand and good and awesome. And there's nothing to be frightened by or scared about or afraid of. Because you know, it's all an illusion, it's passing, all ailment is passing, all ailment is passing, all ailment is temporary. Everything that has to do with humanity is temporary, it's passing. It will cease to be in one moment of time, and I will become more of the truth of my being in that moment, and so will you. You think about it. Childlikeness is where we need to be again. We need to have the bravado of a child. The child in the classroom, drawing the picture. The teacher comes along. What are you drawing? Oh, I'm drawing a picture of God, miss. Oh, you are you? Well, nobody has ever seen God. Well, they will in a minute. That kind of certainty. Okay. All right, Jacqueline, tell me what you think about God. 5-year-old goes, I think God is a feeling, not a think. No problem. Understands energy, understands feeling, and so on. Well, you and I have to be in that kind of childlikeness once more. How do we get there? We drop all the worry, anxiety, fear, and let it be dissipated in the powerful divine presence, substance that we are at the core of our being. So remember, when you're feeling blue, when you're feeling down, when you're feeling sick, tired, sore, sorry, when you're feeling upset, when you're feeling estranged, when you're feeling disconnected, think of the big, huge block of ice and all of that power and light within, and begin the thaw. And just a little bit of thawing can make all the difference in the world. So go home with the understanding that there's nothing for you to get. We come here not to get anything. We come here together to remember the one thing, that God is and God always is indwelling in you, in me, in all of life. And what connects us is our soul, and we need soul connections more, soul connections more, soul connections more. And then life will become full of friends, full of supporters, full of cheerleaders, full of affirmers, full of people in your corner, full of people at your back, full of people being your cheerleader, egging you on, cheering you on to the winning post. That's what happens when we become soul connected, soul friends, soul mates. And it's silly to think you ever only have one soulmate. Every soul on the planet that's part of a breath of the life of spirit is your soulmate. Sorry, but that's the way it is. We are soul connected. So let's go out there into the world and be all that we are called into being right now. Let's bless this country. Let's bless everybody up there at the podiums, and know for them that the infinite intelligence itself is centered, and we'll pray for a big thaw very quickly. Okay? So are we on? So it is.